You are indeed very welcome from your own homes to be present in St Vincent de Paul School with us this afternoon. It's always exciting at this point to see some familiar faces of families that have been with us for some time, maybe have older siblings in the school, other families who are in our nursery. And it's also really exciting when there are new members that join our happy community at St Vincent de Paul School. So whichever group you fit into, you are very welcome this afternoon. I'm going to start by introducing the EYFS team, and there are some slight changes this year for those of you that are familiar with the school. And this is the first point that it's announced, so you're first to the news this afternoon before it goes out to the rest of the school. So I'm going to introduce this afternoon, for those of you that don't know me, I'm John White, the head teacher. I'm going to introduce Mrs. Hargrave, who is our early years foundation stage and key stage 1 assistant head teacher. My goodness, Mrs. Hargrave, that's a long title, isn't it? And
it's lovely to see you all.
Brilliant, thank you, Mrs. Hargrave. And I'm going to introduce you to our 2 reception teachers. Many of you will know Mrs. Lambert, who's currently one of our reception teachers. Mrs. Lambert, you might want to unmute. We've all been used to that phrase, haven't we?
Hello, nice to meet you all.
That's Mrs. Lambert, and new to the reception team, but not new to the school, our other reception teacher this year, Mrs. Heath.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So many of you will be aware that Mrs. Heath is currently one of our year 1 teachers and is moving into the early years to bring her year 1 experience to the early years, which is going to be a really exciting time for us all as well. I know some of you might have been expecting Mrs. Hargrave as a class teacher in reception. Well, Mrs. Hargrave is moving to year 1 this year to bring her early years experience to year 1. We've got a little bit of a swap there going on. But that's our early years team. So the purpose of this afternoon's meeting is really just to give you a little bit of an insight into the school. You've had less chance, particularly if you're new to the school, to actually visit us and to see what we're about. So we hope to give you a little bit of a flavour of what the school's like, what our priorities are, what the classes will be like in September. And then there's another opportunity later in the year for those of you that are new to the school, those of you that aren't currently in the nursery, to be able to visit the setting for a short visit as well, to get to know us a little bit more. Okay. So there is a chat bar on Zoom. Many of you will be familiar with it through your own use of Zoom. If you've got any questions as you go along, please do put those into the chat bar and we will try to pick up those questions as we go along, or if not, we'll do that at the end. Okay, I'm going to begin by sharing my screen. Let's see some of our happy children in the early years. Look at those lovely smiles. It's wonderful to see our children smiling and enjoying their time at school. And what I would say about St Vincent de Paul School is that it is a school of joy and happiness, of community, of connections, and the children don't even realise they're learning, that they're having so much fun. And that certainly is the essence of our early years. But what you'll also be aware of, and one of the reasons you'll have chosen us as a reception class for your child, is that we're a Catholic school, and obviously being a Catholic school, prayer is at the heart of all that we do. So as always, when we join together as a community, we will join together in prayer this afternoon. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Loving Father, thank you for the gift of our precious children as they begin their journey at our school. Help us to set boundaries for them and yet encourage them to explore. Give us the strength and courage to treat each day as a fresh start. May our children come to know you, come to love you, come to feel your daily presence as we work together, parents and teachers, to provide for them. May your Holy Spirit help them to grow in faith, hope and love, so that they may know peace, truth and goodness always, at home and at school. May their ears hear your voice. May their eyes see your presence in all things. May their lips proclaim your word. May their hearts be your dwelling place. May their hands do works of charity, and may their feet walk in your footsteps. Thank you for the gift of our precious children as they begin their journey at St Vincent de Paul School. Amen. So, partnerships are so key to all that we're about at school, and a really successful education is going to be a partnership between three important bodies in a Catholic school: families, you as the primary educators of your children, the church and the school. And when we can get those three elements working all together, secure and in a loving environment, Christ-centered practice, so Jesus at the heart of all that we're doing, when those three elements work together, it works for the very best for your children. And that is our primary aim, so that you all become an integral part of our school community. So that our school community is important to you, you're important to our school community, and your children become a significant aspect in that. They're at the heart. That's so important to us. And that working in partnership works in so many ways. It's about those conversations with the class teacher at the classroom door. It's about keeping in regular communication. It's about us communicating with you about things that are happening and about the development of your children. It's about us being able to share together in liturgy, in the Catholic life of the school as well, so that we are all together. That's so very important to us. It's also about some nitty-gritty aspects. So things like attendance and authorisation of absences. So we work in partnership with you to make sure that your children are able to have the best attendance that they can have at school. That's been tricky this year, hasn't it, with COVID? You know, and even through these times, though, when children haven't been able to be in school, our partnership means that we can work together to ensure that the education of children and their sense of community has been able to be protected. Now that's all of the partnership is summed up actually in our homeschool agreement, which you'll be able to see on our website. And on that homeschool agreement, there are aspects that are about what the child agrees to do. So your young children, the things that are expected of them in the partnership, which we will help with you to establish with them. There are things that the school, the expectations on the school, what we need to do for you in that partnership, sort of our guarantees to you of the things that are important to us, what we will strive for. And also the things that are important for you, you're part of the partnership, and how we work with you to make sure that all of those things are so very important and are enshrined in what we do. So those three elements, home and school and the child, working together to make sure that it's the best start for your child. So have a look at that document carefully. It sort of forms, it's called an agreement. It's not really a contract, is it? But it's actually about expectations and what we can expect of each other when we've got the partnership right. And that's so very important, that working together. Another similar way in terms of partnerships that we can work together is about the start of the school day, which can be chaotic in terms of parking. It's a nightmare. Anyone who has driven down Bedwell Crescent sort of between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, you will see the number of cars that are there. And it's a really difficult start to the day for some people because of parking. So we ask you to think about how you will park and plan for it. If people are able to walk, that's brilliant, but we know that our families come from across town. Many of them do need to use a car. We ask that you are very careful about where you park so that we don't upset our neighbours. That's really important because we're a part of the Bedwell community. There is access to the church car park, but again, that gets very, very busy. And if I were dropping off, I would avoid the church car park as well, because that's a busy spot. One of the great places to be able to park is actually near the Noah's Ark daycare nursery, which is by Fairlands Valley. There are often spaces there in the morning. The families that park from there and then walk to school have a really calm start to the day. And that's going to be important for your child, isn't it? If you've been rushing to try and get the right parking spot, you've been caught up in some congestion trying to get into school and you feel you're running a little bit late and your child's a bit nervous about things, it can make for a not great start to the day. So that calm start, think about where you're able to park. There's also the Maze car park, but again, that gets fairly busy as well. That's really important that we thought about some of those things in our partnership, because they help the start of the day to go well, but they also keep our neighbours happy, which is really important. Because our partnership extends beyond the school, it goes out into the Bedwell community. You'll find expectations about uniform and jewellery in the EYFS handbook, which is actually available on our website on the reception page. You'll be able to see that there. I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of all of that now. But all of these things are ways that we work in partnership to make things smooth, a smooth start for our children. Now, I know what you're going to be really interested in is what's the curriculum going to look like for your children. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Mrs. Hargrave, who will talk to you about that.
Good afternoon again, everyone. It's nice to be with you. Often you hear people talking about their children going to starting reception as they're starting school, they're going to big school. And there's sometimes that bit of worry about what big school looks like. We tend to not to describe ourselves as big school. We talk about just coming to reception, and we're continuing the early years curriculum, the one that all your children have been used to up to now. So I know that all your children, wherever they've been, have been to some form of EYFS setting already. So we're going to be continuing the style of learning that they might have been doing in there, wherever they are. We do have probably more formal aspects of learning as well, but it's all done through a very easy early years foundation stage experience. So we have a mixture. We have a mixture of whole class teaching, small adult led groups, as well as child initiated learning. And child initiated learning is when children go off and they're choosing where they want to play, and they're choosing, as we say to them, where they're going to develop their learning through their play. So we're learning through what they're playing. And as adults, it's our role to encourage their learning, to develop their learning through what they're doing. So we're going to be doing that through supporting the children in what they choose, and supporting them with questioning and prompts, and trying to engage them and trying to move their learning forward. And we do that throughout the day, whether it's where they've chosen to go off and do it, or whether it's an adult-led group, they've been directed to it. So that's one of the forms about. You'll hear a lot about child initiated learning, and you might hear us talking about it as CHIL or CIL. That's what the children are doing. And just by looking at some of the pictures that we've put on the screen here today, talking about measuring capacity, learning about that. So what better way to do it is putting out equipment where the children are automatically going to be exploring the capacity and the different measuring by the different size jugs. And, you know, lovely treat to be able to sit alongside and listening to that language, and joining in when it's the right time. When it's the right time, we don't want to interfere too much, but we do want to, you know, help support them. And you can see also you've got children there playing with phonics and putting them together and building up what they've learnt in class and using it to explore within their learning later on. So all of these activities that they do during child initiated play have been carefully planned, and the environment has been set up to allow for that continued learning at this time. You'll hear in the early years curriculum, there are 7 areas of learning, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with those now. When you come into reception, we continue those 7 areas of learning, but we also do some discrete teaching as well. So as Mr. White has said, you've chosen a Catholic school. So we teach RE, and we teach RE most days as a discrete topic. RE is thread throughout everything that we do in school. So it's all the ethos of our school. It's about, what did Jesus teach us to do? Jesus taught us to be kind. So one of our things is we want to respect everybody around us. We want to respect ourselves, we want to respect each other, and we want to respect things around us. And that comes from our RE, but it's just something that's woven throughout the day. The RE lessons that we teach might be a bit more knowledge based, looking at the Bible, learning about Bible stories, and unpicking why we celebrate things such as Christmas and Easter and things like that. So looking at that. The other discrete lessons that we'll have will be phonics, so letters and sounds. We begin to teach the children to read and write when they come into reception, and it's a lovely year group to teach. As much as I totally enjoyed working in year one. I am going to miss this aspect of teaching and reception. The children come in all eager and excited, and at this time of the year you see them reading and writing all on their own. It's brilliant. What we're going to do is we're going to have a meeting again in September to talk about the curriculum in more detail. There's a lot to go into, and there's lots of things, and I think it might be too much for us all to take on board now. So we're going to have another meeting solely about the curriculum in September. Literacy and maths will often start in that same way. We have an adult teacher will do a whole class learning experience with the children, and then the children might go off to explore independently, or they might go off to work in an adult small adult group. We often teach through topics as well, as you might see there. What you will have all noticed, part of, I'm sure I can only see part of it here, but handwriting. It's something that's quite important to us, and it will be to your children, that when you develop the handwriting with your children, I'm sure some of them exploring writing their names now, it's quite hard for children to, once they've started doing something, to change, to break those habits. So if your child is showing an interest in writing, do encourage them to start their name with a capital letter, but continue the rest of their name in small letters. Often children write in capital letters at the beginning because it's easier, because it's all straight lines, but they might find it a little bit more difficult. So we've given you the script in our early years handbook, and you can see how we form those letters then. But if your child is not ready to do that, please do not worry, their time will come, and we'll support them when that time is right. But we will talk to you in more detail in the autumn term. Thank you, Mr. White. You can move us on.
I think Mrs.
Hello again. Yes, hello again, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about your children's start in September, their early days. Obviously, at the moment, we don't know exactly how September will look, but we're hoping that it will go according to plan. So on your child's first day, the first half of the register, the first 15 children will come in and stay with us until 12 o'clock. So we have the opportunity to really get to know them, sit with them, talk to them. On the second day, the remaining half of the register come in, again, they stay until 12 o'clock, but they don't have lunch. They'll have a snack, but they won't have lunch. On the third day, all of the children come in together and they will have lunch in the dining room with us. I know lots of parents get anxious about food with their children, but we stay with them, we support them. Both Mrs. Hargrave and I know exactly what all of our children had today, what they've eaten, how much they've eaten, so you won't have any concerns there. And on the fourth day, all of the children are in full time for the day, and obviously having lunch. We would ask that when you drop your children off, you wait outside of our area. Our outside area is also a classroom, so quite often teaching assistants will be out there setting up for the morning, and also younger children can be tempted by the things that are out on display and might move something that will need. So we do ask that you respect that the outside area is a classroom as well. Remember, as it says, to allow yourself lots of time and to let us know who's collecting your child. Okay, thank you.
There is in your packs that you will have received some information about a collection for your children, where you are able to nominate those people that are authorised to collect your child. We will only allow your child to go with someone who has been authorised. If someone unexpected turns up for them, we will always call you to make sure that was your intention, that your child is collected in that manner. So please do return those forms to us. That is very important. Mrs. Lambert mentioned that it's difficult to know what September will look like at the moment. We are still awaiting advice from the government in relation to what we will be allowed to do and what we won't be allowed to do. So it's very difficult at the moment for us to talk about all of the timings for the school day, because currently we're operating a staggered start. We don't yet know whether that's going to need to continue or whether we'll revert to our old systems. As soon as we know, though, we will let you know. We are led to believe that we should know a little bit more about it once the details are released in relation to the next stage of releasing elements of lockdown. So we are told that the DfE are currently working on advice for schools at the moment. So rest assured, as soon as we know what's happening, we will let you know in relation to that.
As some of you will know, and I can see a parent now who's very involved in, we have a really healthy parent-staff association, and everybody that's involved in our school is welcome to join it. So I just want to say a few words to say, you know, do come and join the Parent Staff Association. It's a way of socialising as well as raising money for us. And we've been very lucky down the years for the events that have taken place and all the support we've had from the Parents and Staff Association, PSA. And it's been really beneficial, and the children have gained from it because of all the various different resources and things like that that the PSA have been able to raise for us. And it's a nice way of making new friends as well. If you haven't, if this is new to you, you know, everything. And I can see a member of the PSA looking now, and hopefully that they'll also agree. There's always somebody there that will support you. It direct you to the right place. Thank you.
And that is one of the things that's perhaps been a little bit difficult this year.
Yes,
new families to the school. The Parent Staff Association, in terms of those links, they're often a good way to get to know the school and get to know other families. And there have been less events in person because of COVID regulations. But even so, we're hoping that in September we'll be able to do a little bit more so that you will have that support to hand. What I would say, that even though we've had a difficult year, it's amazing. The Parent Staff Association handed over to us just last week a cheque for £7,000, which is tremendous. That's amazing. And that's actually going towards some equipment, some ICT equipment that will be appearing in the classrooms very soon. So even in these limited times, the Parent Staff Association really supports the needs of your children and really helps them to get the best start that they can. So a very valuable association, which we really appreciate. So get involved when you can, please. In terms of, you may have seen an orange form in your packs. Orange form, or sometimes called the gold form. This form is really important to us that it's returned. Even if you think it doesn't relate to you, could we please ask that you fill it in and return it? I know that it has some personal information on it, like national insurance numbers. That's all dealt with in the strictest of confidence, and forms are shredded once we've used the information that we need to. It's a strange situation that some of the school's funding comes through what's called pupil premium. It's quite a large chunk of the funding, and it's related to individual circumstances, income related. So you may be eligible, your child may be eligible to help the school to get some funding, even though you don't realise it. And so if you are able to fill that form in and return it to us, that really, really helps us, because Catholic schools actually get less pupil premium funding than other schools locally, and that's a national thing. So we need to do our very best to ensure that we get absolutely all the funding that's due to us, because it all goes to children. Okay, so as an incentive, if you return this form to us, look, oh wow, prizes, you get a book bag free of charge. I wish it was an iPad or a laptop, but we can't quite stretch to that. But a book bag's helpful, isn't it? So orange forms, if they come back to the school as soon as possible, we deal with that information all very sensitively and confidentially, and then we shred the forms. That could help us to actually get about £2,500 funding per child. And if that funding does come through, that helps the school, but it also helps your child, because there's certain other benefits that your child would be able to take advantage of, like support towards school trips and things like that. Okay, so please, if you're able to fill out that form, please do return it to us. And I think Mrs. Heath's going to speak to you about help your child.
Okay, hi. I'm just going to talk a little bit about early days in reception. So as much as possible, we try and encourage the children to be as independent as they can. But to do that, we kind of need you to sort of help as well. So it's trying to sort of ensure that they're quite happy and comfortable to do things like going to the toilet by themselves, sort of knowing about washing their hands and things at the appropriate times. Also, a good idea to kind of get them to sort of practice getting dressed and getting undressed, sort of thing, maybe during the holidays, just to sort of so that they're more confident doing those kind of things. There's always going to be someone there that can help, okay, if they do get into sort of difficulties or anything, but as much as possible, just sort of get them more confident at doing those things themselves will help sort of develop their own self-confidence as well, and they can feel quite proud of themselves when they can do those things for themselves. When it comes to sort of clothing wise, I'm going to talk about uniform a bit in a minute, but just things like if they've got elasticated waists on their trousers or their skirts, so they're not worrying about trying to do buttons and things like that. Also with shoes, Velcro, rather than laces and buckles, which are quite tricky for little fingers to sort of do up as well. And then like lunch times as well, if they're quite confident with sort of eating and sort of feeding themselves and things like that as well, or anything you can do with them sort of to help that at home would be great. And then I'll go on and talk a little bit about actual school uniform.
Can I just mention something about lunchtime,
Yeah.
Mrs. Heath? I'm just looking at the dinner on the plates for two of the children we've got there. It's actually it's actually a Wednesday dinner, and it's exactly what today's dinner was. So it was a beef roast dinner today, and it was delicious. I had it. I have a dinner every day. One of the school dinners, all cooked on site by Lynn in the kitchen and her team. And that dinner is available free of charge to all infant children, so from reception up to year 2, currently as part of government funding. So, you know, it's really good if your child is able to take advantage of that. It turned one of my own fussy eater children into an easier eater, because he tried different things at lunchtimes, and his friends were eating things, and he started to eat some other things. He still struggles with his vegetables, but it certainly helped him along the way. It is a tasty dinner, and there is a choice for the children. It's on a 3-week rota of menus currently, and your child is able to choose between a number of different options. So there is a hot meat option, a hot vegetarian option, there's a sandwich option, and there's a baked potato option as well. And you get to see what the choices are each day, and you're able to work out with your child what they want. So they come into school and say, I'm a green dinner today, or they mark it on the system that's in place in the class as they're coming in. So it's a really, really good opportunity for your child to be able to have a hot meal each day, funded by the government. Of course, there are children that come in with their packed lunches as well, and that's perfectly fine.
We haven't had that many this year, Mr. White, and it's been lovely seeing them. That particular picture is when the cooks in the kitchen were promoting tomatoes, and those children were all given a little cup of tomato juice. A lot of them had never had it before, and Mrs. Pickard said to me, shall we ask them at the counter, at the hatch, whether they want them, or should we just give them? I said, just give them to them. And it was really interesting listening to them talking to each other. Have you tried it? Have you tried it? And those were trying. So as Mr. White was saying, when they see other people tasting things, they do. So here's the tomato juice.
And this week, the focus is carrots. Yes. It's part of the Eat Them to Defeat Them programme that's running nationally. So we're on to carrots this week. There was a lovely carrot mash today, which was really nice. Whilst the children are in there having their lunch, as Mrs. Heath mentioned, the reception staff are in there with the children as well. So they're helping them, helping them to cut up that meat if they need to, encouraging them to eat. Children aren't forced to eat, of course, but they are encouraged, and they're encouraged to try things if they're able to. So your children get good support at lunchtime, and it's a lovely, happy atmosphere in the dining room. The reception children go in earlier than the other children, so it's a little bit quieter in there, and they've got time to eat so that they're not rushed through their food. A really important part of the school day. Have
you seen, Mr. White, we've had a question about school dinners?
Right,
in the chat bar.
I can't see the chat at the moment as I'm
sharing. So the question says, sorry, I might have missed it. Where can we find the weekly lunch options? Is it on the website?
Yeah, it should be on the website. If it isn't, we'll make sure that it's put on there so that you can see it. It's displayed in the windows of the classrooms as well, so that each day you can see what the options are, and it is parent mailed out to everyone as well when the menu changes. So we can make sure that that is sent out to people if it hasn't already been sent out, because the autumn menu should have been finalised by now, because it does change from term to term. But that's a good question. We'll make sure that that is sent out.
And we also have photographs for the children to look at in the classroom, so they can see what they're going to eat.
That's brilliant.
They can choose from the pictures.
That's great, thank you. And of course, the meals provided by Hearts Catering, they've been providing meals at the school for many years now, and they will cater for all sorts of diets, gluten-free. They obviously cater for allergies as well, so that if your child has an allergy, you have to fill out a certain paperwork beforehand so that the kitchen are able to risk assess and actually sort out a special individualised menu for your child and their health needs. They're very good at sorting all of that for you. So we're back to school uniform now, Mrs. Heath.
Okay. So school uniform, navy school trousers, shorts or a skirt, a plain white polo t-shirt, okay, the one with a little collar, green jumper or cardigan with the school logo on, black school shoes, and as already mentioned, really good if they can be Velcro shoes rather than lace up or buckles for the children. In the summertime, girls can wear a summer dress, and that is the green and white stripe or check. We'd like them to have black plimsolls in school with their PE kit, and the PE kit is just a plain white t-shirt and blue pull-on shorts. But just a bit of a request here, can we make sure that everything is named, please? Because it gets very tricky when we have 30 green jumpers with no names in. And just literally just their initials in the label, and just make sure the children know where their name is in the clothes as well, so they can look for it themselves, just to help them be a bit independent again as well. Okay.
That's great. I noticed there's a question in the chat bar about the book bags and if you filled out the orange form already. If you filled out the orange form already and you are in our nursery, if you pop around to the school office in the morning, we'll be able to issue you with that book bag. If you're new to the school, you'll be able to get it on your when you come along for your COVID secure small group visit, which we'll talk about in a moment. Okay.
And somebody's asked, can girls wear a pinafore or does it need to be a skirt? You can wear either a pinafore or a skirt, whatever you find your child finds it easier to get on and off, really. One thing I would say is buy big. It's much easier for children to get on something that's a bit big than to squeeze in and out of something that's a bit small.
Okay, so by the end of this week, we aim to send you all a letter to let you know who your child's teacher will be. It would be lovely then to meet you, so especially the pupils who aren't currently at the school. So there'll be a small group tour for those families who are new to the school. So just a few children at a time to come around and have a look around the school. That will be on the 8th of July. And then we will also obviously want to meet our new classes. So we will spend time in the nursery, perhaps reading a story with those children, having a chat with them. So that will happen before the end of the school year. And then on the 14th of July, you will have the opportunity to listen to us reading a story to your children, or for them to listen to a story. And there are past stories, obviously not for Mrs. Heath yet, but there are some past stories that you can access on the website, and that really helps your child to know a little bit about us. In fact, my current class really loved the story where I had my sausage dog sitting on my lap listening to the story at the same time. I think that was their favourite. So you'll find out a little bit about me at the moment, and Mrs. Hargrave. But they're worth a listen. And then the staggered start on Thursday, the 2nd of September. Looking forward to meeting you all. Thank you.
So what we've tried to do in putting this visual together is just so you can see the different points that we've tried to keep in contact with you. We know it has been tricky this year. And actually, it was very difficult to make some of these arrangements because we didn't quite know what we were going to be allowed to do. We had hoped initially that we were going to be able to have you all in for a proper meeting in person with your children in the classes, experiencing the classes, but that just hasn't been allowed this year. Even the secondary schools, children moving on to secondary schools are not moving up to their secondary schools for a taster day as they normally would. So all of our hopes were dashed in that sense, which is why we've had to put something together at the last minute in terms of the 8th of July visits. We're sort of stepping outside a little bit of what's happening locally. Many schools aren't doing visits to the school at all, but we wanted to make sure that those pupils who are not currently in our community at least have an opportunity to have been on site before they start in September, because that's really important, that that you've got something you can reflect on with them and talk to them about in terms of the school environment. You'll also be able to show them some pictures of things that are on our website, so you can sort of see the insides of the reception classrooms through lots of the pictures that are on there on the website pages and through our Twitter feed. So please do have a look at that and share those images with your children. And once those visual story times are on there as well, your children have got a point of reference for their teacher for that year, over the summer holidays as well. So you can keep reminding them, oh look, there's Mrs. Heath. Mrs. Heath was the one that read you the story, or Mrs. Lambert's the one that read you the story with the sausage dog, so that your child starts to make that connection with their teacher. So I appreciate it's been difficult this year, not the way we'd normally like to do transition, but what I can assure you is that we've been in touch with previous settings, so that we've been gathering the information in the same way that we normally would, and we hope that your children will be able to put a face to their teacher before they start in September, so that we can have a really smooth start to the year. Okay.
May I just mention on at the end of it, when you get your letter telling you which would be your class teacher, you will also, that's when you'll get told of your time slot to come and visit. But we're also going to send out some information for a letter for your child with some photographs on it and some pictures of the adults in the class. So that will be another way that you can help introduce your child to where they're going and what they can see. So you will get that as well this week, and that will help. Somebody has asked, will we be able to make, if they can't make next week, will another tour be arranged? It's not quite as straightforward, as easy as it sounds, because we're trying to make the logistics of everybody in there, trying to get everybody in together. If you have emailed me, as I know some have, you can't, please do email me to let me know, and I will, or admin, and I will do my best to see what we can do, but it is difficult, but we are putting other things in place. So please don't worry if that's not possible, because you will have other things that you will help your child to settle. But do, let me know if that is a problem for you.
It's quite difficult managing the visits because we are stepping slightly outside of what local expectations are. We have to be incredibly careful about how we're doing it. So those visits, they are short visits in very small groups. There'll be some time where you'll be talking with an adult outside, and then sometime brief time in the classroom. So then they aren't going to be extensive visits. It's just an opportunity to be on site and put faces and places in the mind of your children. So as we say, not ideal, but at least it's something that we can offer. And if your child's in the nursery class already, they'll be familiar with the site. Please feel free to wave across at your teacher when you know who they are, and make that connection on the way when you're collecting your child from nursery or dropping off. The teachers would be really pleased to see that. Okay. So all of the information that we've shared this afternoon, and anything else that you've been sent, along with any of the additional information, like the class information that Mrs. Hargrave has just spoken about in terms of photos, that will all be uploaded to our website as well. There's a reception class area on there. There was a link to it in the last letter that was sent out to you, and we'll be continuing to populate that with all the information that will help you over the coming days. That's where you'll also find the Early Years Foundation Stage Handbook, which has got a lot of really good information about things that you need to know about school life in the early years.
We've got another question in the chat bar, Mr. White.
Okay, would you like to read it out, Mrs. Hargrave?
Just popped off. Let me have a little look.
It won't let me call
Can we
up.
clarify? Can we clarify which shorts are appropriate for boys and which shorts for the summer uniform, as there only seems to be one listed on the Smarty uniform website?
Yeah. So it's tailored shorts, isn't it, that are mentioned as part of the school uniform. There are children that wear different types of shorts. The important thing is that they're navy. They're not your general sports shorts. They're not a PE kit short.
Sports shorts for PE.
Yeah.
But you can buy the navy shorts from any retailer, can't you? You don't have to buy the uniform.
Absolutely. The only item that you need to get from Smarties is the jumper, because that's the only
cardigan,
the branded item, the jumper or the cardigan. All other items, as long as they're navy in terms of the trousers or the pinafore, you know, they can be got from any other supplier. I mean, Smarties does offer good value for money, and they're a good service. That's why we've gone with them recently. So you know, have a look there, but by all means, shop around as well.
Apparently, Marks and Spencer's do all you need, says one parent. Other retail outlets are available.
Yes.
We've just had another question with regards to the 8th of July. You will get in your letter this week a time slot for you to come in on the 8th. Again, apologies for the short notice, but our hands have been tied.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is that another one that's gone on? I can see numbers on my chat bar going up. I just can't read them.
Somebody says, I bought a cardigan with logo from the shop in Park Place. Is that suitable? I think so, isn't it? Isn't there a shop in the...
Is that not Smarties on Park Place?
Isn't that Smarties? Yeah, oh, that's right. Somebody else has come back saying that is Smarties. Thank you.
It's the only place that supplies our jumper with a logo. They're the only outlet.
Thank you. I really appreciate all these questions. It's really good for you to type these in and ask now while we're all here. Thank you.
I think there might be a couple more. Is that right, Mrs. Hargrave?
I think that's I think that's it. PSA are going to try and do uniform nearly new sale soon.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Mrs. Scraps.
That's fantastic. We will have a look through all of the questions at the end again and just make sure we have answered them. If there's anything we haven't answered during the presentation, we can put that out to you in an email. Okay. So we hope that it's been useful for you this afternoon to get to know us a little bit. I push again the early years foundation stage parent handbook, because that's going to give you a lot of information. Have a look on our website as well, in particular the reception pages. And I'd strongly urge you to have a look on Twitter as well. You don't have to follow us. You can just log into Twitter and see our tweets via our website if you don't have a Twitter account yourself. But that would just give you a chance to see the sorts of things that the children are up to and the school environment. It's a real pleasure to see everything that they're getting on with in school. It's lovely to see. You've got your contact details here as well. Please do contact us if there is anything that you need to know, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We know that actually there are many questions that come up, particularly if it's your child's first step into our school. You might just have a concern or a worry or just a question, and there are no silly questions. Okay, so please do ask and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. Mrs. Hargrave, was there another question that went in?
There was. Is the pickup location backing onto the park now closed? So at the moment, what we're doing is we're operating a one-way system. So parents are coming in from our top gate, dropping off or collecting and going out via our back gate that leads on to Fairlands Park. At the moment, you know, as I say, Mr. White said, it's very difficult to know what changes will be in place for September.
Yeah, but we will let you know. We'll make sure that you know where the pick up and drop off point is. At the moment, the parents queue up basically around the outside of the reception outdoor area, and when the gate opens, they're able to come in that way, and they pick up from that a similar location, one by the gate and one by the back door to Mrs. Lambert's class, which you will soon get to know. The teachers will be there at the end of the day waving to you so that you can see where they are. Yeah. So don't worry about that.
But we have two main gates, don't we? One that comes from the Bedwell Crescent, one goes on to Fairland. So hopefully we're quite lucky in that respect. You can come to us from both sides.
Okay, well, I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. It's been lovely to have time with you this afternoon. I wish we could have been with you in person. It's been nice to see some familiar faces on the screen and some new faces as well. You are all very welcome to St Vincent de Paul School. We look forward to the journey ahead. It's the start. For some of you, it's a continuation of a journey. For some of you, it's the start of a new partnership. So you are very welcome. Thank you for choosing us as a school for your child. We hope that we do live up to your expectations. So we look forward to seeing you, many of you, on July the 8th, and everyone else in September. So if we don't see you before then, have a lovely summer holiday.
Stay safe.
Goodbye.